Digital Africa Media presents Everything Digital with Faith History.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Everything Digital Show, brought to you by Digital Africa and, of course, MTN. All right, guys, my name is Faith History, and I'd like to welcome you to today's episode. Today is the third part in our series on podcasts. And the last couple of episodes, we've been talking about how to create your podcast and how to, push your podcast to a lot of listeners. And now today, we're going to talk about creative ways to monetize your podcast. So I'm very excited to be bringing you this episode, and I hope you've been following along. And if you haven't, all you have to do is just go and check out the show notes if you're listening through the podcast. Otherwise, go to edigitalafrica.com and look at the past podcast, and you'll see the links to the previous ones. Okay, so let's get started. Like I said, this is the third part in the series about podcasting. And the very first one was the essential steps to starting your own podcast. I gave some tools and tips to help you in your journey, and then what platforms to use, your niche. We talked about that last week, the basic equipment and apps that you need to use. And then, of course, in the last episode, we went through some practical steps that I've used myself to grow my podcast listener numbers and get thousands of listeners per week. So if you haven't listened to those yet, check the podcast show notes for the links to this episode. I will talk about how to monetize your podcast on this very episode. So I understand that you may have started your podcast as a thing of passion or just as a hobby to pass time. So now you have to put in the work, and you have grown your podcast, and your listener numbers are now up. So you've put in that work already, right? So what's next? What do you start thinking about next? Well, you could earn a living from your podcast. For sure, you could do that. And there's some very creative ways to do that. Earning from your podcast will come majorly from advertisements, but that's not the only way, because even with ads, there are various ways to do that, and I'll show you. So let's go right into the advertising first of all. So with advertising, this is how that would work, right? So a brand would approach you, or you reach out to the brand offering your services for a fee, of course, right? And you have the audience, they have the products. So what are you going to do for them? 4 ideas that I have for you. There are a few things that you could do for them. First thing you could do for them, you could do jingles. You could produce jingles for their products or brands and play it on your podcast. If you already have one, or if they already have a jingle, if they already have one, they could just supply it to you. If they don't, you could charge them a fee for creating a jingle for it. And then you also could charge them a fee for airing it on your podcast to your audience. So it's like on radio where you have a short song or tune to advertise a brand. A jingle is a powerful form of sound branding. A second way is by doing a hype. You could talk about their products for a fee. No fancy music or anything, just you talking about their products in a credible and relatable way to the listeners, right? So you've used it, or you've tested it out, or you've read up on it and you believe in what you're talking about. That's the best way to usually go about doing a hype, right? And you can talk about that on the show. Here's another way to earn money through advertisements. You can do a segment sponsorship. So if your podcast is divided into segments, if it's long enough, then you can create content around a particular brand in one of your segments, like what we do for The Plug. The client pays to sponsor that segment, and in turn, you fuse their brand message into your podcast episode. Usually a segment sponsorship is longer than a jingle, and it depends on the length of your segments in general, or the particular segment that the client is paying for. And sometimes you can be flexible and create a custom segment for them. You may have to interview a representative of the brand, or talk about their new product yourself, or as part of a list that you've made. And here is another way to then earn through advertisement is show sponsorship. You could actually have a major brand sponsor your podcast. This is not just a one-time thing. For instance, you might have a contract, you might have a series of months or a year or less or more where your contract might run, and you would have the brand on each episode running their jingles. You produce jingles for them. Sometimes you're doing hype, but all the while, you just need to know that you are partnering and they are sponsoring your brand. So you need to keep your brand in line with what it stands for, but also keeping in mind who your sponsor is, to also make sure that you keep your brand at all times sponsor able, right? So you can't say random words that you would normally say in passing, or I'm talking about bad words, right? Unairable words that you shouldn't even be using on radio in the first place. Your views have to, you have to think about what you say, you have to think about what you stand for. You literally, you have to think about the brands that are your partners. And even though they're your sponsors, they're still your partners. And you have to uphold the standards that they have as well for their brands, to your brand. So that's really important. Let's go to a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about other ways that you can monetize your podcast. You're listening to my podcast and radio show, Everything Digital Africa. And please don't go anywhere. My name is Faith History. We'll be right back. And we're back. Thanks for joining us. I'm so glad you didn't go anywhere and you hung in there with us. Now, we've been talking about the different ways that you can attract and use advertising to monetize your podcast. And now let's talk about a second way that you can monetize your podcast outside of advertising. You can actually ask for donations, right? You've spent time creating all this fantastic content that your listeners love. You've built up an audience. It's only natural that, your audience would want to support you, and other people who listen as well will want to support you. They might want to give you a monetary gift, but so many times you don't get if you don't ask. So ask your listeners for donations and support, and be clear about why you're asking. Is it to get new equipment, or is it to enable you to focus on creating content as a full-time thing? Come clean, let them know. You'll be surprised at how many of them have been waiting for you to just make the ask. So now you're probably asking yourself, which platforms do you use for this? This takes into my next point of how to monetize your podcast using donations. So hold on one quick second. Back to donations. I gotta say, since I'm teaching you this stuff, I might as well ask if you guys are in the mood for sharing and giving us some money. Please, we have a brand new platform that is called Shukran, and it's a Nigerian brand, and basically they work like Patreon, which is a US brand, I believe, and that is it's a platform for collecting donations. So basically, what are you saying, Faith? Faith is saying to you, you listen to my show every single week. I've been doing this for 5 years. You guys, if you want to donate, I will be happy to take your money so that we can continue to provide the show for you. We can continue to expand to other states and other listeners outside of Lagos. And we can continue to create great content, as well as courses, as well as books. And there's so much that we want to do with the eDigital brand. And so I'm asking for your donation. Don't say I didn't ask you. If you want to donate to us, just keep listening. I'm going to share the link for you. But let me go into my next point, which is why and how to monetize your podcast. How would you need to monetize it further? You can offer exclusive content. So by offering that exclusive content to your supporters, for instance, back to that brand Patreon that I spoke about, it's been around for a long time, and podcasters and content creators have used it to offer exclusive content to those who support their podcast on Patreon. So if you don't know what Patreon is, it's a membership platform that makes it easy for artists and creators to get paid. So you, in your case, you have your podcast, you could set up Patreon and set up a minimum amount. Well, the key thing is that those who donate, those who give, those who continue to support you to make sure that you're able to do your show, they will get extra content that the free listeners don't get. So it could be things like Q&A with special guests, early access to episodes that will be free for 1 day, maybe ad-free episodes, live streamed episodes, or they could get to see episodes that have video, something that is different. And if you're struggling with Patreon, or, you've signed up on Patreon, but you also need an additional platform because, hey, it's never enough, right? You can check out Shukran, which I mentioned earlier, at usesshukran.com. Again, that URL is uses, like, you're using something, uses Shukran. Shukran is spelled SHUKRAN.com. It allows you to give your donors access to some exclusive content. And then, another cool thing about Shukran is that they allow content creators to get supported by their listeners like yourself, right? And you can support us here too. If you like our content, you want us to do more, you want to help us expand, you want to beat your chest and say, you know what, I'm the one that helped eDigital Africa and Faith History to expand to all these new stations that she would like to expand into, and to create all this amazing new content and help young Africans get digital and get all these new skills that they really need to get to make them more, able to earn across the world and make them more globally competitive. I am the one who donated. Yes. And I used usesshukran.com/CR/eDigital Africa. You like how I did that? Well, basically, that's our URL for going to support us. So if you want to support us, again, I will share that URL now and also at the end of the show. It is www.usesshukran, that's SHUKRAN.com/CR/eDigital Africa. You can also check the show notes for the link so that you can go ahead and donate. And I thank you in advance for your donation. Now, number 4 thing that you need to be doing to monetize your podcast, you can offer offline ticketed events, right? So you could organize events and sell tickets for access to these events. It could be a live podcast, or it could be a question and answer session, or it could be a meetup session to bring all of your listeners together. You will certainly make some bucks from that event. One of the things we did at the beginning of the year is that we actually partnered up, or we were part of the people chosen as partners for Social Media Week, in which case we offered ticketed events, right? So some of those tickets were free and some of them were paid, and we had a live podcast, like a pop-up podcast. It was so interesting. We had guests on. We had Linda Osifo. We had Calabar Chick. It was just awesome, and Fisaya Fosudo, and they were just talking about influencer marketing and being an influencer, and that was really exciting. Let's go to another quick break. When we come back, I want to talk to you couple more tips about monetizing your podcast. All right, don't go anywhere. You're still listening to Everything Digital with Faith History. We'll be right back. We're back again. All right. Thank you for joining us. And if you're just joining us, this is eDigital Africa's show called Everything Digital, brought to you and hosted by eDigital Africa, hosted by Faith History. That's me. And we are here on your favorite radio station, and we're doing what we do. So what we do is this show where we bring you everything that's cool, hip, and, really important for you to know in today's digital world. And today we're talking about monetizing your podcast, right? So I've talked about several ways. I'm on my number 4, scratch that, make that number 5 way for making money and monetizing your podcast, making sure that your podcast, goes from being a hobby to being professional, right? Like you're earning from it and you're able to continue. This will give you ginger, guys. There's nothing like when you start making money off of your passion. I can tell you, I've been doing it for the past 5 years, and it's really, my dream come true. And I want to be able to help you to get to where I am. And that's why I'm sharing this level of information. I'm not holding anything back, and I really want you to utilize it, because for you right now, it's free. We're going to be offering it as a paid e-course in more detail over the next couple of months. And when that course is ready, I will be sharing that with you. But for right now, you're listening to the show, it's free. All right. So listen. Number 5, you need to syndicate your show to YouTube, right? This is something that I talked about last week. Guess what? We already started, right? This means having the video format of your podcast episodes uploaded to YouTube and then activating the monetization settings. It's a very straightforward thing. It's not as technical as I just made it sound. So YouTube handles the ads that are showing up on your channel, and you just have to focus on directing people to watch it. Speaking of which you can find the eDigital Africa show on YouTube. Our episodes are there in video format. So if that's your thing, if you're more of a visual person, you want to see Faith, you want to see the things that I'm talking about, please head over to our YouTube channel and subscribe. Again, the link is in the show notes. Just go to eDigital Africa. Just look for that on YouTube and you'll find our page. Please subscribe, right? We're very excited about that. Here is my final point on, monetizing your podcast is what you can do to monetize your podcast. You can sell repurposed content. You don't have to create new sellable products. Instead, you can just turn the podcast episodes that you've already created into ebooks or e-courses and sell them. Yes, I know. What did I tell you? These things are not things that I'm hiding from you. These are things that I'm doing. These are things that we're doing with the brand. And I want you to be able to do that yourself. So it might take you a while because you want to do enough episodes, but you need to start thinking about that when you're creating your episodes, right? Like, what am I going to do with this episode 2 months down the line, a year down the line? Am I going to be able to repurpose this content? Am I going to be able to use it? Are my audience going to still appreciate it if I turn it into something else, right? So that is one thing you can do. Go through your old episodes. You'll be sure to find some gems that can be repurposed and sold on Shopify or Amazon. And we have a couple of resources for you. Don't worry, they're free. All right. Some of them are free. So use the link in our Instagram bio. That's eDigital Africa on Instagram. Use the link in there. We've got a whole bunch of free things for you. And speaking of free, guess what? We're making our ebook free. Yes, I know we were charging for it and we've charged for it and charged for it. But now because we're launching an e-course, we just said, you know what, the ebook has to be free to you all. So please feel free to go and grab it. Now, I hope you have tons of ideas on how to monetize your podcast. If you have any more questions or you want to talk to us or you want to ask a question, our Instagram, Twitter are always open at eDigital Africa. I am at Faith History. You can talk to me or any member of my team. I've got Lydia on the team, always ready to talk to you. She's our community manager. We've got Supreme, always ready to talk to you. We've got Larry. So guys, just talk to us and we'll talk right back to you. And if you are on our WhatsApp group, then shoot your questions right in there. If you don't know our WhatsApp number, you want to join the group, it's a very exclusive group for the Digital Smart Set. So let me just warn you right now. That group is very exclusive. So if you want to join, feel free. I am not going to stop you. The more, the merrier. We're soon going to outgrow WhatsApp. We're going to move to Telegram. But for right now, WhatsApp is still open. You can reach us on WhatsApp at 0813-888-0585. Again, that's 0813-888-0585. Remember though, this is a podcasting series and there's 2 other parts before this one, so check them out. I'd love to hear your voice and feature your questions in an episode. So please send in a voice note with the link in the show notes, wherever you're listening to on the web. That's in the description. I'll add it in the next episode and then I'll answer it. All right. Did you hear what I just said? If you send me a voice note, I'm going to add your voice into the next episode. You're going to beam on radio. And guess what? We're syndicated. So I can tell you right now, it's going to be amazing to hear yourself on the radio. And I'm going to I'm going to have you ask your questions. We're going to play it and I'm going to answer your questions. So please feel free to send me voice notes. In the meantime, let's do the plug. We have an amazing tribe. I told you about our WhatsApp tribe. They're hitting us up on Instagram. They're hitting us up on Facebook and on our WhatsApp group. And I just want to plug a few of our loyal followers and listeners on Instagram. Let's start. Let's go. First off is at gracie.oma. Shout out to you. Shout out at ima.anosike SMES Hub. SMES Hub is amazing. She's based in Abuja and oh my God, at Otibo, amazing. Miriam Musa, gorgeous. So I just want to say shout out to all of you who are our loyal followers on Instagram. You're always, integrating with us. You're always talking to us and interacting. You always pushing what we push. You support us and we see you. and we love you, and I really appreciate you guys. So thank you so, so much. I know I might not say it all the times. I see you, but and then please check out their handles if you're listening right now on Instagram, and also follow us everywhere at eDigital Africa. All right, that's on Facebook, eDigital Africa. On YouTube, just look for eDigital Africa TV. On Instagram, eDigital Africa. Everywhere else, that's the best way to reach myself and the rest of my team is at eDigital Africa. And I just want to say thank you one more time for listening. If there's anything that you want me to cover next, I'm always listening to you. We're here to serve you. And I just want to thank you again for spending that time with us. And I'll catch you next time when I bring you more digital tips and insights your way. Stay digital, go digital, be digital. Digital is the wave of the future. It is now. Everybody's and everything is digital. And I want us as Africans, Nigerians, to be at the forefront of the movement, to go digital, to be digital, but also be digital in an amazing way. Earn money, use your voice, create influence, and just be the next generation that, the generation coming can look up to, all right, online, not just for nonsense, but for things that are smart and good and like honorable, you know what I'm saying? Things that can help you solidify and leave a legacy. So think about what you're passionate about. Think about the things you want to create. Think about what you want to use your voice for, your experiences for, and digitize it. Digitize. Listen, guys, the global marketplace. Next week, I'm going to be talking about globalization, making sure that your brand is ready to sell outside of Nigeria. You ready to earn money? Forex? Yes. We're going to be talking more about that. That's going to be our upcoming series. For now, it's goodbye for now from me, your girl, Faith History.
For more on this topic, visit www.edigitalafrica.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
Everything Digital is proudly brought to you by MTN. This is a Faith History production.